Hello, everybody out there. We are here once again with another one of our fabulous facilitators for the Future of Strengths Forum, Eduardo Villavicencio. I am super excited to have him on board. And he is going to be talking about something really super interesting. So you'll have to stay tuned to find out what that is. But our forum, if you're not registered yet, is on September 13th and 14th. Or if you're in APAC in the eastern side of the world, it will be the 14th and 15th. But we have speaking sessions, panels, and workshops at all hours, it feels like, straight for 2 days. And so there's surely something that will fit your schedule and your availability. So we hope to see you out there. Be sure to check us out at practicalstrengths.org and click on the tab for the Future of Strengths Forum and learn more. I'll share some more at the end of this session with Eduardo today. But first, Eduardo, let the people know a little bit about you, who you are, where you are, what you do.
Excellent. Well, good morning. Buenos dias. Buenas tardes. My name is Eduardo Villavicencio. Thank you so much, Joe, for that wonderful introduction. I currently live in the Washington, D.C. area, just in Northern Virginia. However, I was born and raised in Los Angeles to Ecuadorian immigrant parents. So that's why I call myself Ecuato Gringo, being first generation born as well as first generation college. Although I majored in economics, I became a K-12 teacher by accident. Eventually became a teacher trainer and then an IT director in schools. Fast forward many years ago, many years later, in 2017, I had my first corporate experience. And that's actually how, even though I had met strengths 2010 in grad school 8 years earlier, it was only 2017, 18 when I had what I like to call my best failure, corporate life, that I hired a coach. And I learned a lot about how the results didn't tell me my strengths. They told me my talents and what my potential strengths or weaknesses were. So that's it. I love being on this call. I love being part of the Future of Strengths forum. My activator ideation futuristic makes me think, yes, this is where I should be. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, I am super excited to have you here. We're actually going to be posting your talents up here on the screen in just a moment. But with that being said, I always love to ask a talent question.
Yeah,
And in this case, I'm definitely going to do it because it's related to a little bit about what you're going to be talking about at our workshop, or at least semi-related, I think. But when you think of your talents, and it's fine, you can think of your top 10 if you'd like. It doesn't have to be restricted to
great.
top five.
Yeah.
Um, but when you think of your talents, which talent do you sort of most identify or recognize from your childhood?
Great question. Yeah. So I'd like to say the one that got me in the most trouble, right,
Yeah.
I think I
I
think
think that's how we identify most of them from childhood.
yeah. It's kind of funny. I think analytical and futuristic are 4 and 5 for me, and both of those would probably be the place where I got the most feedback from my parents. And that's usually in the way I would say that is in Espanol, right? As a kid, when we were going to do something, I always wanted a reason. And so, papi, ¿por qué? Papi, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? Being a Spanish translation for why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Like, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? And my dad, oh my gosh, he would be like, carajo. Like, that's just like, that's the way of like, what are you doing? And then that futuristic, I think, is what would bother my mom the most because and I'd be like, asking the Spanish version of EC, 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 or what if, what if, what if. And I think it was anything as simple as, it was my turn to take out the trash and not my brother's. And I'm like, what if we did, but what if we did this, or what if we switched, and what if, and my mom just like had it. So I think that combination of why and what if is kind of and I think it just shows up still today in good ways and then other ways in surprising ways,
Yeah.
so hopefully
Yeah.
that
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.
you know
Yeah. And and there's the, the English version of that, because the response to that would always be, because I said so. Right. So
yeah, that's right.
that's fantastic. So because I asked that question, give the people a little peek of what you're going to be sharing in your workshop at the forum. What can we expect from you?
Yeah, well, Joe, it's been interesting because most of my life I think I've lived from the neck up. So what I mean is I've been very kind of what would be traditionally called left brain. I relied a lot on my smarts, I thought, to make a difference instead of my heart. And I've been very privileged that in the last 10 or 15 years, I've had an opportunity to experience a lot of personal development courses, also therapy, both couples therapy and group therapy and those types of things. And I happened to run across a method of framework of psychotherapy called internal family systems. Most people know it, IFS or IFS Parts. This was made popular in the 1980s by Richard Schwartz, but it's only just resurged, I think, to at least to my knowledge, in the last couple of years. So what's really neat is that my ideation and my individualization kind of is combining some of this work that I've done as a participant, not even as an overachieving analytical brain, but as a participant in this IFS conversation with some therapists and coaches that I've had the opportunity to work with. And I wanted to say, well, what if our Clifton strengths, our top 10, 15 talents were patterns that as kids, we ended up having this IFS parts framework, where basically IFS says that sometimes as kids, something happens that we may or may not interpret as a trauma. But because of that, we get parts that show up, and they show up in firefighter mode, like protector mode, or proactive mode, like managers. And so I was just curious, and this is what we're going to have a conversation about. I'm going to bring some examples about what if some of our talents, we talk about the balcony in the basement, we talk about the genius, right, and the shadows. Well, I'm going to maybe bring a new perspective and talk about managers, firefighters, and that third part that's called exiles. What if some of our talents could be organized or categorized into these IFS parts framework, this framework? And so that being said, I'm going to ask everyone to bring all of their parts, or in this case, all of their strengths, all of their talents, whatever they seem is most natural to them. And we're going to have a conversation about how I can take the IFS parts framework, and maybe in your coaching practice, you can bring this to there, or potentially just in your own practice, you can start thinking, oh, why does my analytical always show up as a win at work, but when I'm on a date or a first a blind date or some type, or when I'm in couples counseling or something, that analytical part just kind of shows up in this like reactive mode? That's what we're going to have a conversation about. I hope people enjoy that bridge, the ideation
Yeah.
between CliftonStrengths and IFS parts.
No, I'm super excited about this because when you first started telling me about it, it was just such a light bulb moment to some degree for me because of so many experiences I had last year, which is what led me to lead the forum this year with the future of strengths, but with the idea of it covering families and community leadership and building and education and neurodiversity and trauma and
Mhm.
rehab and mental health, because so many people I talked to last year, it was this kind of recurring pattern that happened with new clients last year. Was I got a significant number of people, more than usual over the last 9 years that I've been doing this formally, of people who said, ugh, I hate my strengths. Oh, what? And so many of them, when we got into that conversation, it was because of childhood history, the way they had grown up, people telling them that these things were not valuable about them and seeing it as the worst of themselves as opposed to the best of themselves. And so when you started talking about it, and I love, it brought me into that piece of it, but I also love that this is coming from personal experience and sort of you connecting the dots of how this showed up for you and a possible avenue of how this could show up for others. Because I think as we begin to live and breathe this strengths language, we start to go, hey, this is kind of everywhere,
Yeah.
for us. So I'm really excited about this. I hope everybody else is ready to learn with that too. I'm so jealous I'm not going to be able to sit in on most of these sessions and learn all of them because they're concurrent. So everybody's going to miss out on something and have to go back for the recordings.
That's
I'm going
right.
to be able to be a fly on the wall here and there, but I'm going to miss almost everything and have to like just go back and listen to the recordings. But I'm super excited for everyone else that's going to get to participate. So thank you for that. All
Definitely.
right. Are you
Yeah.
ready for the last question, the would you rather?
Yeah, well, just before that, I was thinking of all the things I got. My
Yeah.
workshop is at the same time as Jennifer Doyle Vansel's workshop on leveraging AI for career explorations. So I'm definitely checking out the recordings because while I'm talking about this, I want to be there. So I'm just going to have to be an example to love all of my parts, even the parts that might be feeling FOMO, right?
FOMO.
For going, some of my talents are going to want to be there. So I'm really excited for anyone who decides to come and join our conversation that there is recording. And I'm glad that you thought of that ahead of time so that folks can be present and be fully there, because that's actually. Oh, and then one more thing, I
Yeah.
think I mentioned that the workshop was for advanced. By advanced I meant you don't have to be a coach. It's just you just really want to know your top talents, so that when I introduce the framework of IFS, we're really jumping on the fact that that sometimes your talents aren't necessarily your strengths, and
Right. So
that's
you
the
want at
only
least a
part of
decent
advanced.
knowledge of your talents and
Exactly.
how they're showing up.
Yeah.
It would be interesting potentially for novices, but it'll be of a much higher value for someone who has a little bit more strengths experience.
Exactly.
So
And
perfect.
if you want to encourage folks, I'm not a mental health professional yet, but I am definitely a participant who has gained from a lot of different frameworks. And so I want to make sure everyone knows, bring it, come, and, if maybe clinicians might want to come and kind of share their wisdom as well. So looking forward
That
to
would
that.
be awesome. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
All right. Now we're going to Would You Rather.
Okay.
You ready? Pick a
Yes.
number 1 through 20.
1 through 20. My birthday is on the 22nd. 22 has always been my luck. Oh, wait, that doesn't work. But
Ah,
2 + 2 is 4. And so as a math teacher, I can totally, pick 4.
awesome. Oh, this is a fun one.
Okay.
So, would you rather be stuck in a romantic comedy with your
Mm.
worst enemy or a horror movie with your best friend?
Oh, interesting. So since I can't think of a worst enemy, because I always think a worst enemy is probably eventually gonna be a friend, because the reason I even think of them as enemies, because there's something in them that I think I don't like about me.
Yes, I
So
don't have a lot of enemies either, but like maybe
so
just that one person you wouldn't normally consider spending a lot of time with.
yeah, romantic comedy. No, I think I'll do the horror movie, because I think part of that would be I didn't like horror movies as a kid. So I always had to pretend it's ketchup, it's ketchup, it's ketchup anytime there was a blood scene. And I grew up on that. So I think I'd rather with my best friend go, hey, let's figure out how to get out of this. That's kind of, and I'd always say, let's not split up, because certain movies or certain, tropes where
Right,
like
right.
you always have to look back. So I'd rather be in a horror movie where I'm like, hey, okay, this is what I remember. Like, let's not do the thing that, and what do you remember? And like together, let's team up to make sure that we don't do the common mistakes that we
Exactly.
know we would yell at the screen for. It's like, look behind you. No, no, we already have some, like, that's what I think. I think that'd be a fun horror movie.
I love it. Perfect answer. All right. Not that there's a good answer or a bad answer. I love where people will go with it because my son is the one who loves would you rather questions. And sometimes they're really hard because I'm like,
Oh yeah.
neither, both.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
was
don't know.
thinking
What a
about
weird
who,
question. But
who,
we have so much fun. That's like our road trip thing. I even bought him a book of would you rather questions for the
oh,
road trip we've been doing this
that's a
year.
good
So it's been a
book.
lot of fun. But
Yeah,
he
well, and
loves
and I have a friend who who I value dearly, who always, I know a zombie apocalypse. I mean, this person was the person I definitely wanted with me, and she would advertise that. So a lot of her friends know her as the friend you would want to have in a zombie apocalypse. So that's good branding. I
yes,
don't know.
it's great branding. It's great
So,
branding. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Eduardo. We're going to be posting this out there for everyone to get to know a little bit about you.
excellent.
Again, I will post that information for anyone who's interested in joining us. And of course, we will be sharing Eduardo's link to his registration. We want to make sure if you want to support him in this endeavor, this is a co-op earning opportunity as this is our inaugural event. So to help them earn, we encourage you to register through their link and they will earn 50% of the revenue that we're making off of this event for anyone who registers through them. So thank you so much for your generosity, Eduardo. I'm so excited to have you on board, and we look forward to what you're going to be offering during the forum.
Yeah, muy bien. Looking forward to it. Bienvenidos todos. Excellent. No Spanish necessary.
Excelente. No, no es necesario, pero sí vamos por allí.
Yeah.
Gracias, Eduardo.
Goodbye, Joe. Thank you so much for hosting us.
Yeah.